All right, so we still have a few people joining the room here, but let me tell you just sort of the goal of today. Really, we want to move as quickly as possible to answering your questions, seeing what questions, concerns, thoughts you have about sociology at Chapman, what we could do to help you decide whether or not you want to do sociology. So I've got just a couple of slides which I think have what are answers to the questions that people most commonly ask at a session like this. So I will go through those pretty quickly. I would welcome you to, if you have a question while I'm going through one of these, there's only 5 slides. Believe me, I hate nothing worse than long Zoom meetings and long Zoom meetings with PowerPoint. So we'll keep that short. But feel free to unmute yourself and just shout out a question if you've got one while I'm going through this stuff. But let me jump on here. Let's see. Are y'all seeing that? Can somebody give me a thumbs up that you are seeing? Okay, thanks, Valentine. So first of all, and Haley and Valentine, well, I don't know, Valentine, I wasn't hearing you, so I'm not sure if anybody else was, maybe some sort of problem there. But anyway, if either one of you want to jump in and add to whatever I'm saying from your perspective, please do. And if you completely disagree with things I'm saying, all the more fun. So join in if you like. But so here's what I think about with sociology is people often ask, what is sociology? How is this different from social studies? What is it like to do sociology in a university setting? And I think the easiest way to distinguish sociology from related fields or fields that people think are related, like psychology, is that sociology is the study of groups. That we are generally studying how society works, and we're oftentimes studying how society works through the behaviors of different groups. And that is group broadly defined. A group can be something like a club or a fraternity or sorority or a sporting organization, but groups can also be a demographic characteristic. People who are religious or non-religious, racial and ethnic categories, categories of sexual identity and identification, gender. And all of these can be different groups that people belong to, either because they've chosen to belong to those groups or because those groups are ascribed to them or based on some characteristic that they have. And sociologists are very interested in understanding how those groups that people belong to, however they've become a member of those groups, affect their behaviors, their choices, how they are treated by others, and how ultimately those affect the operation of society. What do you think of that definition, Haley and Valentine? You think that's fair?
I think it's pretty fair. I'd say the most interesting thing about sociology is that you can make an argument for classifying just about anything into a group as long as there's similar characteristics. And I think
Sure.
that's one of the most interesting things that a degree in sociology at Chapman builds up to is a lot of your classes are foundational about what different groups people consist of. So like marriage and family and religion. But by the time you become a senior, it's your job to choose a group of people or identify a group that you want to study. And I think that's been kind of the most interesting thing about the degree so far.
Cool. Cool. Haley, can you tell me if you hear Valentine? I want to see if it's a issue with her sound or my sound.
I can't hear Val either.
Okay. Bummer. Bummer. Well, then what that means is that Valentine agrees with my definition, thinks it's the best. Right. You gotta give the thumbs down to that one, right? But okay, so I did say at the beginning that I do see sociology as distinctive from psychology because we are studying less about what goes on within the person's head, although again, that's a very simplistic definition, and more about what goes on between people and groups. There are crossover areas. You'll find classes in social psychology, both in psychology and sociology, that talk about this sort of crossover between the individual and the group and how it affects their psyche and such. But in sociology, you'd be learning a lot about um, theories and data about the operations of groups, larger institutions, and society. I happen to be someone who studies religion, so groups here could be groups like the Jehovah's Witnesses or the United Methodists, Buddhists, different religious groups that are operating in society in the larger institution of religion. And I have an interest in how religion impacts society as a whole. So these are things that you will learn about through a variety of different classes that we can talk about in a minute. We'll learn about a lot about existing research about social groups. And within sociology, there are certain classes that everyone takes and certain classes that are elective. So if you have an interest in a particular type of social group, then you could sort of take your classes in that area. You will learn as a sociologist how to effectively present your ideas, both in oral presentations and through writing. And you will learn a lot about research methods. How do we conduct research? What is the best way to try to develop our questions about society, and what are the best ways to try to gather information that'll help us answer those questions through a variety of different means. And there are a lot of opportunities within sociology. I think sociology is pretty well blessed in this way that we have a lot of research projects where students can get experience doing paid work on real research projects. Haley, you mind telling them about your work on Insight?
Yeah, for sure. So I've actually been lucky enough to be part of the sociology department before I actually was officially a sociology major. I joined as a peace studies student at Chapman, which was very cool. But there was a sociology professor who I had a class with who told me, "You'd be a really great sociology student. And let me tell you what I'm researching and why I think you should either join the sociology department or work for me." And so I started working for his research team, which works under the National Counterterrorism Institute for Technology and Education. It's partially funded by the Department of Homeland Security. And the research project that we're working on right now pertains to threats against public officials. A lot of the work that I've been doing is looking at individuals who have made threats against a public official in education or in healthcare or in the government to see what they've said, where they've said it, and then demographic information about the person who committed the threat, possibly why they committed the threat, their ideology, and then the victim that was included. It's been a project that we've been working on for about 3 years, and it only continues to become more and more relevant. A lot of the work that I was doing was really kind of granular data collection, and now we're starting to get a bigger picture of things. So I've been on this project since I was a freshman, and now I'm a senior. So I'll be graduating with about 3.5 years of paid research work experience, along with a BA in sociology, which I think is one of the most advantageous things that's come out of my degree so far.
Yeah, I can tell you, Haley, that amount of research experience is huge. No matter what your choices are after this, whether it was graduate school or to be able to tell a potential employer that the type of work you've been doing for the Insight project is going to be big for you. And that the Insight project is just one. There's several research projects that I know of that are
Hear me
ongoing.
now?
There is yeah,
Okay, awesome. I could talk a little bit about my research too.
please do. Please do.
Okay, so I'm working with a professor on her research projects. She's primarily interested in studying public health, especially in like adolescence. So the most recent study that we were working on was depression in adolescence, or actually in young adulthood. And we just started a project on like genes, I guess,
Mhm.
and adolescence. And then I also actually assist with ARDA and pulling data for what is that, the Archive of Religious Data,
Mhm.
which I believe you are like in charge of.
One of the co-directors, yeah.
One of the
Yeah.
co-directors of, yes. And so that's some of the research that I'm working on. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I would
Yeah, and
recommend.
there are great opportunities for I think that's one thing that sociology really has that some departments don't have the opportunity for. It's just the large number of research projects we have going on that are available to students. So let me just mention to everyone here again, I've got things to talk about that I know are commonly asked by potential students in a situation like this, but I do not want to, the three of us I know do not want to just talk about things that are not of interest. So I would encourage you to either unmute yourself, or maybe Holly and Valentine, you could do me a favor and monitor the chat, and people could, if people have a question about whatever we're talking about, they could throw it in the chat and we could talk about it. But another thing that I think you should know is that within the department here, we have right now 3 offerings. You could do a minor in sociology, a minor in anthropology, or a major in sociology. So a lot of people, we have a lot of minors. We have a lot, because it's an easy minor just in terms of the number of credits required to double minor. Are either of you double majors, Haley or Valentine? Okay, I thought maybe one of you was, but here's a question I'm always asked is, okay, fine, sociology sounds fun and interesting, but what do sociologists do? And here are, from us going through data on our former students who have gotten sociology BAs at Chapman, what type of work have they ended up in? This is not a ranked list or anything like that in terms of frequency, but the types of careers that people oftentimes go into with a sociology BA are social work is a common one here. People have gone into law programs love sociology as a precursor to going into a law program. Law enforcement, and I say broadly defined because we have literally had current police officers who graduated with a sociology degree from Chapman, but law enforcement broadly defined in terms of we have former students who are working for the FBI, former students who are doing data analysis for law enforcement. So there is a lot of opportunity for sociologists and law enforcement. Nonprofits are something that a lot of sociologists go into, as is teaching and education. And we have, at the moment, I think we have 3 recently former students who are in academic programs to achieve MAs or PhDs in sociology. But more generally, one of the things that you get from sociology that I think is tremendously valuable is that we do have a focus on teaching you the skills that you need to answer your questions about society. And what that means in reality is we teach you how to conduct surveys. We teach you how to analyze data. We teach you how to do various forms of field work, whether that's focus groups, interviewing, or literally going out in the field and observing behavior. Those skills, absent anything else, are very valuable in any occupation that seeks to understand its customers, its base, the groups that have an interest in its offerings, whatever those might be. And so we find that a lot of people in sociology end up gravitating towards jobs in a huge number of companies you might not imagine, job places like Nike and Amazon, because of their valuable skills in survey research, data analysis, or interviewing. Do you have anything, either one of you have anything you'd want to add to that?
Yeah, I'd say one of the things that drew me to sociology, and disclaimer for everybody on this call, Valentine and I were randomly assigned roommates our freshman year of college. So we lived in the same room, and we were roommates up through our junior year. We're seniors now and we no longer live together, but we share the same job. So we've been really close. She entered as a sociology major, and she's one of the reasons why I ended up joining the program. But one of the things that I noticed about her very early on in our friendship, and then later noticed about myself, is that she was really great about observing patterns in people and groups, and then connecting the patterns of what people do to what might be influencing them. And that was always something that was really interesting to me when she talked about her coursework. And so I think beyond data and survey analysis, it really is about developing that pattern of thinking where you're able to identify what are people doing, and why are they doing it, and be able to critically question and critically listen to individuals, And I think those are
Mhm.
skills that are needed broadly across the workforce, like you're talking about, that are uniquely developed when you become a sociology major.
Mhm. Agreed. Yep. Um, okay. So is anything popping up in the chat? I'm not watching the chat, but okay. So this just quickly, this is what the major looks like in sociology. If you were to come here and become one of our majors, is that there are classes that everyone takes. So this is a way that the sociology students get to know each other. We also have a sociology club that we can talk about later if you want, but everyone takes intro to sociology. Everyone takes an introduction to research methods course. We all take social theory, which is basically trying to get you a base knowledge in the way sociologists think about the world and theorize about the world. That's your Durkheim, Weber stuff, right? Haley and Valentine. You have a quantitative data analysis class, which that oftentimes that term freaks people out, but it's really about learning how to do things like survey analysis. Did a question pop up we should answer, Haley? Just pop in if there is.
Yeah, we got a question.
Okay.
The question is, how strong should your data analysis skills be for sociology? So
Do you mean do you think maybe the person can clarify? Do you mean to come into the program? Is that what you think they mean?
yes.
There is no expectation, and let me know if this isn't answering your question. There is no expectation that coming into sociology you have data analysis skills, or that you are familiar with methods. That intro to research methods is designed to literally start you from the ground up thinking about how to answer your questions, your sociological questions through a variety of methods, which could include things like interviews or observations of people to things like surveying them. But no, there is no expectation that you have previous experience doing those things to join the sociology program. Our job is to teach you those skills.
How many people are part of the sociology program?
Our number of majors right now, I think we have, let me ask Danny the total number, I think. I'm waiting for Danny, who knows everything. Danny is the administrative assistant in the sociology department who really knows the answer to everything. So Danny will know the number of majors we have. Other questions while I'm waiting for our grand poobah, Danny, to, okay. The sociology major ends with a 2-semester sequence, which is we have capstone 1 field research, this is where a professor and in a smaller class, you will formulate a research question and figure out the best way to gather the data that will help you answer that question. And again, one thing in sociology is when we're talking about data, that doesn't mean we're talking about a data set or survey data necessarily. That can be, but data also means your notes from conducting interviews, your analysis. Some people who do their research in the sociology department are doing things such as coding up media that they're watching or reading, or so there's a data is a writ large. And then your final class for the sociology BA is writing a senior thesis. This is where you take the idea you've developed in capstone 1 and where you've gathered your data, and now you write up a thesis, meaning you write up an argument about what you hypothesize might be going on in relation to your question. You talk about your data and talk about what you found. That senior thesis is fairly unique. Not every program at Chapman does it, not every university does it, and it's very valuable because it's a great way for you to distill your ideas and bring everything together at the end. And I see we had something pop up in the chat if somebody wants to break in.
How oh
Go ahead, Val.
okay. How feasible is double majoring at Chapman with sociology? Okay, wait, I'll just read the question. You mentioned double majoring earlier. How feasible is that with sociology at Chapman? Is there a lot of required out of class research work? I'm hoping to double major in creative writing in either sociology or psychology.
Okay, great question. Double majoring is very feasible with sociology. That, as you can see, you have these 6 required classes and then 6 electives. And one thing and that is what you need for the BA. So you can easily double major. Of course, I can't say you can double major with every program, because if there was a program that had far more intensive requirements or has 52 credits associated with it, it might be hard to double major with anything. But sociology is designed because we know we have a lot of people who like to double major with creative writing, with various programs in the Dodge School, with political science, with psychology. It is designed to be a BA that is something that is feasible to double major with. As far as research outside of the classroom was part of that question, I think the question was basically, if I understood the question right, tell me if you think I understood it wrong, Haley or Valentine. I think the way I understood it is, are the research requirements in the program so intensive that they wouldn't have time to double major? Is that the way you understood that question?
Or, well, yeah, that's the way I understood that question. I think the research, there's very little out of class research commitments.
Yeah, that it's certainly not out of line with what would be something that you could double major with. And I guess the best way for me to answer that question is, we have a lot of double majors. So it is something that people do. It is something that's feasible to do, and it is common for people to do it. We have a few now in creative writing. Like I said, the ones I see a lot are creative writing, poli-sci, and psychology. Other questions
We had
you want to
another
pull out of there?
question. Are the 6 electives in the sociology department?
Normally, yes. The idea is that you're taking 6 sociology or anthropology electives. Why I'm hesitating a little bit is that there are things we can do called substitutions, that if there was a class that you wanted to take in another department, such as psychology, poli-sci, or some other department that arguably is related at all to social science, then we can allow it to count as an elective in sociology. But I'm going to show you, we have a large range of electives. These are just some of them. If there's a favorite of either you or Haley, Valentine, please pop up and say it. But here's some that I just thought up off the top of my head that I know are pretty popular. Some of the electives are Foundations of Criminal Justice. We have a new class that is starting right now that's about the prison system. Criminal justice is about the whole system from the trial to, and mostly ends at the point that the person gets put in prison. Now we have a class on actually life in prison. We have a sociology of religion class, social problems. That would be that social problems oftentimes covers issues such as drug use and homelessness and poverty. We have a deviant behavior class, marriage and the family, inequality and stratification, race and ethnicity, medical sociology. Is there a favorite of yours that I don't have listed here? Either one of you?
Yeah, I took sociology of death, which was really
Sociology
interesting.
of death. I can't believe I forgot about that. Okay.
Not necessarily a group you would anticipate studying, but it was about how individuals in different cultures and groups react to and experience death, and then about understanding your own mortality as a human, because we're all part of the group of humans. So I'd say that was a pretty interesting one.
Yeah.
I'd say a favorite of mine that's not on here is Sex, Self, and Society, although I think it's called Human Sexuality now. But yeah,
I
that
think
was
it
a
is.
really
Yeah.
good one.
Cool. Yeah. So we have a wide range of electives. So the idea is that you get the base of knowledge and understanding sociological theory, the way sociologists and anthropologists look at the world and try to answer questions that they have about the way that the world and society operates. But then, depending on your particular interests, if you're someone who's really interested in criminology, you could take several electives in that. If you're someone who's interested in religion or social movements, you could take several classes in that. So the idea is that you have a base of knowledge, but could tailor your sociology degree a bit to your specific interests. Oops, let's see, I accidentally jumped. Nope, that was the end of it. Okay, so that was the answering the questions that I usually have seen as when we're doing a program like this. So what we want to do now is just open it up to questions. Any question you might have that you want to either you can unmute yourself, or you can go ahead and ask in the chat. And we've got this is open from 4 to 5. So I think Haley and Valentine, our goal is we're just going to awkwardly stare at this screen until the last person leaves and just wait and see if people have questions. We are happy to answer anything. I don't think they can offend us with a question like why the hell did you do sociology? That's fine. I don't think any of the three of us would be happy to answer that. So let's just see what you got, and feel free to drop out when you have had enough. This Haley's just laughing at me because I just sort of lean into the awkwardness of social situations like this. Yep, this is just.
Oh, we have
just
a question. Are there any classes in the new technology and how people are affected? I believe there is. Well, I don't know. I think Bernard McGrain teaches a social media class. I'm not sure if that's getting taken over.
The plan is to have that taken over, but
Yes.
but I would say it's not currently a strong suit of the department, although it should be, understanding the role of new media forms and people's behavior. Well, yeah, we need to understand that. Someone
I'm
said,
actually curious if I can ask the group a question. Is that allowed?
yeah, of course.
Are you guys like interested in our sociology department because you really love sociology and you're looking at different programs? Or do you know about sociology and you're just like, oh, I want to find out more about sociology in general? I might not get any answers to that. That's okay. Oh, actually, we got a question. Are internships easily available to sociology students?
Yes, I approve a lot of internships all the time. That Chapman, I would say that Chapman is really good at a couple. That's a wrong way to say it. I'm not saying Chapman's only good at a couple of things. Let me say it a different way. Chapman is really good at a couple of things which are internships and study abroad. That Chapman has really invested a lot in both of those programs, and it is much easier than other places that I have taught at for students to get internships, and far easier than most places I'm aware of for you to do some study abroad.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say both generally at Chapman, it's much easier to get an internship than it is at other universities, mainly because of the size of the university and how much the university has invested in keeping their alumni and their students connected, and then keeping students connected to local businesses within Orange County. Within sociology, pretty easy because you can be a sociology major and do an internship in just about anything that you're interested in and have it count for credit towards your major or towards graduation. So Chapman helps you sets you up really well to get an internship. And then in terms of being a sociology major, it's one of the easier majors to make a convincing case for that your internship counts for something you're interested in sociology.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So one question, I saw a question, are there a lot of study abroad programs for sociology specifically? So the way, and Valentine and Haley, please correct me anything you feel is incorrect or not well stated. But the study abroad program here, there's two ways I think of it. One is you go to some place that you want to go and study abroad, whether that's Spain or Italy, or we have programs everywhere. I mean, there's a lot of programs at different places. And at that place, wherever you are studying, you take classes that are related to sociology. And what Chapman is really good at is making it fairly easy for the department to say, okay, that class you're taking at the University of Madrid, we will count that here as one of your electives. That's the idea, is that when you're going abroad, essentially, you are taking, and this could be for your entire academic program. It's not necessarily you're doing it for sociology. It's more that you're doing it to get experience abroad, and you are fulfilling some of your requirements for various programs while you are. So I'm approving all the time. Basically, what students do is they say, I'm interested in these classes, and my hope is that if I take this class at this university in Italy or Brazil or wherever it is, that you would allow it to count as an upper division, lower division elective, or a specific class. And at the department, we approve and say, yes, if you take social theory in Brazil, we will count it as social theory here. Or no, we've looked at the syllabus, it doesn't look anything like our social theory class, but we'll count it as an elective. So, and the other way is that at times there are specific classes, oftentimes during interterm, that are travel classes, where someone is teaching a class that is related specifically to sociology or anthropology or some other field abroad. And oftentimes the subject matter has to do specifically with the place that they're going. It's not just that you're learning theory in Italy because it's fun to go to Italy, but you're learning Italian theory or learning something about the sociology of Italy. Does that make sense? Would you add anything to that, Valentine or Haley?
Haley and I did a travel course. That was it's basically one class, but it's in 3 weeks. And it counts as one class. And we did one in France, where we talked about theory, feminist theory, French feminist theory. And it was actually an art class. But yeah, kind of towards sociology. And that was really, really good. So
Yeah, I'd say building upon that in terms of studying abroad at Chapman, something I've noticed about most Chapman students is they'll reserve specific credits within their program to study abroad. So if you'd like to study abroad in a specific place and really experience that place, maybe you'll choose to take some of your general education courses while you're abroad rather than reserving them for Chapman. Sociology specifically doesn't necessarily have semester-long study abroad programs where it's like, wow, this is a perfect or great one for a sociology major. Again, because sociology is so individual to the person's interests. However, I think one of the most interesting things is those interterm courses. And I know we mentioned interterm, and that's kind of a confusing term and topic, but basically at Chapman, you have your fall semester, which is when you enter. Then you have winter break, which is your 2 weeks off for Christmas, New Year's holidays. And then you have about 4 weeks in the winter called interterm. And interterm is your opportunity to either take time off of classes or take a or a class in an abbreviated amount of time while still earning the same amount of credits. So oftentimes travel courses will exist in that very brief 4 weeks, where you can go and study abroad somewhere else for a week, 2 or 3. Then spring semester starts. That's usually like end of January through May. And then there are summer interterm courses as well, which are about 4 week long sessions, 4 to 6 week long sessions as well. So Valentine and I did a summer interterm course where we were gone for about 3 weeks. We still got 3 credits for the course. And it built on women and gender studies courses that she and I were taking that were in relation to sociology. It was really awesome. We stayed in this like massive chateau. We were there with 12 other girls. Some of them were art majors, some of them were writing, some of them were sociology like us, others were psychology, others were dance. So being a sociology major means you get to interact with a lot of people from a lot of different majors, and go kind of wherever interests you.
Yeah, and I just want to echo again just that Stella's saying she's really interested in sociology abroad and globally, that just Chapman is really good at study abroad. They've invested a lot in it. So that is one thing where if that is an interest of yours, that is something that could draw you to Chapman versus someplace else. I mean, that is something that Chapman is just really, really good at and has made a significant investment in making sure there are a lot of opportunities and the infrastructure needed to study abroad.
I would say the majority of the people I know have done some form of study abroad, whether that's been a semester. We have this thing called semester at sea, interterm or summer. I'd say the majority of people here do study abroad.
Mhm. Any other questions anyone has?
We can also answer any questions about what it's like to be a student if people have those.
Yes.
You're welcome. So yes, I imagine people will start to drop off, but in case you are shy or have a question that you don't want to ask in front of a lot of people, you're welcome to. I know this would be fun just for as people are dropping off. Tell me your most and least favorite part of the sociology department at Chapman, Haley, and Valentine. Let's hear what you see as strengths and hear what you think about weaknesses, because I honestly believe people should come into any program with an understanding of both.
Yeah, first general size of sociology classes. I'd say my smallest class has been 8 people and my biggest class has been like 35. So classes aren't supposed to be under 10 people, but we had 2 people drop like right at the beginning of the semester. So yeah, 10 to 35. I think most of my classes average like 20. So strengths and weaknesses of the sociology department. I do really, really like how small the sociology department is. I feel like I know a lot of my professors. I mean, that's how I got my research job, is basically like networking, and it's really easy to do that when you know your professors. I also appreciate that it's forced me into a lot of like critical thinking. Not everyone likes to read and write, but I definitely do. So I do really appreciate that too. I'm gonna have to think a little bit more about this one and what my least favorite part is. So Haley, if you
Okay,
wanna.
fair enough.
Cool. I'll start with my least favorite part first. I think that like honestly, it can be a little bit too easy sometimes to be a sociology
Mm.
major. Like it's really cool and it's really interesting, but if you're worried about like, oh my gosh, is this going to be so much work? Do not worry. I think it could be much harder to be a sociology major at Chapman University. I'm saying this as, you know, gentle love, but also I'm a senior and about to graduate. So
Fair
um,
enough. Are you saying you think that some of the classes could be more challenging, that sometimes you don't feel challenged? Is that what you're saying?
I think it could, yeah, I think there could be almost more writing or more reading. I don't
Mhm,
think
mhm.
you should be afraid or overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, I'm going to come to college and I'm going to be overwhelmed and swamped by the amount of reading and writing that I'm going to have to do as a sociology major. It's just not the case. I think there could be much more. Um, and so, you know, for some people that could be like their biggest positive. For me, that's like probably my biggest critique.
No,
But
fair enough. That's good to know. Yeah.
um, in terms of strengths of the department, I'd say, yeah, size is just a huge strength for me as an individual. I always wanted to be somebody who came to college and was known by professors, and had professors that knew me. And that's like exactly what I've gotten out of this experience. It's been really amazing to have individuals who have been in their careers for 20, 30 plus years who are not only interested in what I'm interested in, but interested in developing skills in me that will make me a better career professional. I don't think that's something that you get at many other universities. And Chapman's sociology department specifically is very blessed in terms of the amount of gifted sociologists that are part of the department and the wide range of things that they're studying. So the professor that I study under, Dr. Pete Simi, he's nationally renowned for his work on individuals who have been part of white supremacist groups and since left white supremacist groups. Um, and he's just like an incredible wealth of knowledge to have as somebody who is just a mentor that I get to talk to and drop into on office hours. I think it's really interesting that there's a lot of broad ranging research on public health, like Valentine was talking about. A lot of Dr. Bader's work, which he hasn't necessarily touched on, is about things as interesting as deviance and why people behave or don't behave in ways that they do, but also why people believe in things that are supernatural, like aliens and ghosts and Bigfoot. I think the biggest strength of the department is that you can be interested in anything and find a mentor who is happy to help you become more interested and better developed in that thing.
Cool.
I think another weakness of our department is that I wish we focused more on social theory. I think it's something that you take one class and then it's not as incorporated into your other classes unless you incorporate it. And I think social theory should have more just be more involved in like the classes that we take beyond the individual social theory class. But I mean, again, I think that could go either way for some people, because I really enjoy social theory. I think it's really important to like understand like what foundations you're learning, to be able to build on that or like disagree with that. But not everyone is as into social theory as I am. So
Gotcha. Okay. Appreciate that. Yeah. All right. So you're welcome, Mama. So let me just, before people start jumping off here, let me just go ahead and tell everyone that if oftentimes you leave something like this and 5 minutes later you have that question you wish you'd asked, you are welcome to email me, and this is my email. So if you have a question that you were uncomfortable asking in front of the group, or you have that question you think about in 5 minutes when we end this, you are welcome to write to me.